Hello everyone, greetings from University of Kerala. Today we are going to discuss about a very important stage in the research process, that is research reporting. You know that the entire process of research ends with research reporting. You have already learned about various processes involved in research activity, starting from selection and formulation of research problem, to explore into the problem and to identify the variables involved in it, and to know more about the problem, the existing theories and all. We will then conduct an extensive literature review. After that, we will be in a position to formulate the research objectives. There comes fixing of objectives, the third stage. Then we are proceeding to the process of development of working hypothesis. After developing the hypothesis, we are in a stage to prepare the plan of action for conducting the research activity, that is research designing. Then we will proceed to the sampling plan and sample selection. After that, from the selected respondents, we will collect some data for analysis. Then comes the analysis of data. After analysis of data, we are now in a position to test our hypothesis. That will give us the final solutions. But how we will be able to communicate our findings to the interested persons? For that, we need to prepare the research report. So, the final and a very important step in the research process is to report the study. For this, the researcher has to compile his research experiences and has to present it to others. Then only that will add their fund of knowledge. Then only they will be able to know about the output of the research. So, the research report is the ultimate output of the research process. We know that only at this stage of drafting the research report, the researcher assembles the findings of the study, he draws conclusions and evaluates his own findings. As an end process of research activity, the research reporting is a highly skilled work which is both interesting as well as a challenging task. It is a technical activity which requires considerable thought, effort, patience, skill and penetration, and an overall approach to the problem, data analysis as well as firm control over the language is also essential. So, considerable amount of planning and preparation is also necessary for organizing and drafting the research report. Today we are going to evaluate the entire process of drafting the research report. First of all, we will just look into the meaning and purpose of research report, because my presentation is divided in such a manner that in the first part we will discuss something about the meaning and purpose of the research report, then various types of research report, then what are the components or contents of a research report, and what are the things we have to take care of while preparing the research report. That much we are going to discuss today. Okay, we will enter into the first part, that is the meaning and purpose of the research report. As we already mentioned now, research report is a formal statement of the entire research process and the results obtained through that process. It narrates the problem studied, the methods used for studying the problem, the findings and the conclusions of the study and all. What is the purpose? The purpose of research report is to communicate to the interested persons the methodology and results of the study in a manner to enable them to understand the search process and to determine the validity of conclusions derived by the researcher from his study. So, the aim of the report is not to convince the reader about the value of the research results, but simply convey to him what was done, why it was done, and what was its outcome. So, you have to present it in a comprehensive manner, then the reader will be in a position to reach on his own conclusions regarding the adequacy of the study and validity of the reported results and conclusions. That is the very purpose behind the preparation of the research report. Then what are the functions performed by a research report? Yeah, a well written report performs several functions. The very first one is it serves as a means for presenting the problem studied, the methods and techniques used for collecting and analyzing data, the findings derived out of it, the conclusions and recommendations in an organized manner to the audience concerned. And second function, the report you prepared well serves as a basic reference material for future users, because that reports will be kept in the library, and your research report as a reference material will help the future researchers for developing the research proposal in the same or related area. And a report serves as a means for judging the quality of the completed research project. When you submit a research project to the university will send the research report to the adjudicators. They will evaluate your report. That report acts as a means for judging the quality of your completed research, and it is also a means for evaluating researchers' ability and competency to do the research activity. And above all, it acts as a factual base, because we are all doing social research. In social research, we are exploring a social problem for finding the root cause of that problem, and thereby we are trying to suggest some solutions to overcome the social issues or social problems. So, this research report acts as a factual base for formulating policies and strategies relating to the subject matter concerned, and it provides a systematic knowledge on the problems and issues analyzed, because while studying about the meaning of research itself, the very purpose behind research itself is to find new knowledge or enlarge our knowledge bank, the knowledge periphery and all. So, the American Marketing Society states the very purpose of a research report as to convey to the interested persons the whole results of the study in sufficient details, and so arranged as to enable each reader to comprehend the data and so determine for himself the validity of the conclusions. Okay, I hope you understand the meaning as well as the purpose and functions of a research report. Now we are proceeding to various types of research report. There are different types of research reports depending upon the purpose for which the report is prepared and all. But a broad classification is now presenting by me in this particular session. The research report may be classified into different groups, such as technical report is there, popular report is there, interim report is there, summary report is there, research abstract is there, and research article is there. What is a technical report? Yeah, technical report or thesis. We know that all the doctoral scholars, they need to submit a wide and comprehensive report before the university concerned for the award of the research degree. So, this comprehensive full report of the research process and its outcome is called a technical report or thesis. It is primarily meant for the academic community, as I mentioned. So, the audience will be the fellow researchers or academicians from the same discipline and all. So, it is a formal long report covering all aspects of the research process, in which a description of the problem studied will be there, the objectives of the study, the methods used for the study, the techniques for data collection, data analysis, everything is mentioned. The entire research process with all technical details and methodologies get elaborated in the technical report or thesis. That is about the technical report or thesis. What about the popular report? Here the audience is another group, that is not the academic community. Here the audience are the executives or administrators or other non-technical users. So, they are not concerned about the technical details, the methodological aspects and all. They are actually concerned about the problem, the objectives and your major findings, suggestions and all. So, we will prepare the report in two parts. In the first part, we will give a brief introduction about the problem, then state the objectives and the major findings, suggestions and all. The technical details will be appended as a second part, that is called a popular report. Then comes a third type of report, that is what is called the interim report. As its name indicates, interim means in between. So, there may be certain projects, certain sponsored sponsored projects in which there will be a long time lag between the data collection and presentation of the final results. In the case of a sponsored project, if such kind of a long time lag is there, that study may lose its significance and the usefulness, and the sponsors may also lose their interest in it. So, one of the most effective way to avoid such issues or eventualities is to present an interim report. So, it is a short report. It may contain either the first results of analysis or the final outcome of the analysis of the completed phase. That is what is called the interim report. Then a fourth kind of report is called a summary report. What is summary report? Summary report is generally prepared for the lay audience, that is what is called the general public. It is for the purpose of the general public, to consume. The consumers here is the general public. We know that the general public is not at all interested in the technical details, the tables, the figures and all. So, they are actually interested in knowing the issue and the outcomes and all. So, it is prepared in 2 or 3 pages to publish in newspapers or magazines like that. So, that is what is called the summary report. Then comes the research abstract. So, we know that the doctoral fellows at the eve of submitting their thesis to the university, they need to prepare an abstract. So, it is a short summary of the technical report. It is a short summary of the technical report. They have to submit the abstract to the university, and the university in turn will send it to the adjudicators to invite them for adjudication or evaluation of the thesis and all. So, it is a very short summary of the technical report which is prepared either 1 or 2 pages. It ranges in between 1 or 2 pages. And one more type of reporting is there, that is about the preparation of research article. That itself is a huge session actually. So, every research journal has their own formats, their own templates, and based on that only we are preparing the research article. So, that's all about different types of research report. And regarding the stages involved in preparing a research report or reporting, the stages involved in reporting process, there are 3 P's in reporting, research reporting. What are the 3 P's stands for? The first P stands for planning, the second P stands for preparing, and the third P stands for presenting. So, the very first stage in research reporting is planning the report writing. When we plan the report writing, we have to look into several aspects. First one, we have to consider the target audience, whether it is the academic community or it is the sponsors of the research project or it is the university or any other research agency or it is a business concern. or general public, depending upon the sponsor, the type, the way in which we have to report the study, everything will get changed. So, we have to consider the target audience. Then comes the communication characteristics of the target audience, that also we need to consider at the time of planning the report writing. Then the intended purpose of report, whether it is for a submission for getting a degree awarded or not. In that way, the intended purpose of the report, and the type of reporting, scope of the report, style of reporting, everything shall be considered at the time of planning the report writing process. After planning, then comes the process of preparation of the actual report, and by preparation of the actual report, the process is not getting over. Actually, the reporting of the study ends only with the presentation of report to the concerned authorities or to the concerned audience. Now, we are entering into the core area of this presentation, that is about the content of a research report. Broadly, a research report, the contents of a research report can be categorized into three groups. One is preliminary items of the report, second part is the core part, that is the body of the report, and the third part is actually the terminal items. So, regarding the preliminary items, the report starts with the title page. You know that the report starts with the title page. Then in the preliminary section, there are researcher's declaration page, certificate from the research supervisor should be there, acknowledgements, table of contents, list of tables, list of graphs, executive summary, everything forming part of the first part, that is the preliminary items. Then regarding the body is again classified into several chapters depending upon the nature of the problem and all. We can classify it in accordance with our convenience. So, there may be an introduction chapter, sometimes a review of literature may be presented as another chapter, sometimes it is also forming part of the first chapter itself. Then comes the design of the study, then comes the analysis, results, findings, conclusions, everything coming under the part of this body of the study. Then the terminal items comprising of the appendices. In the appendix part, we appended the copies of data collection instruments, the technical details of the sampling plan, the complex tables if any, which is not included in the body part, and a glossary of new terms used in the report, and the bibliography. Everything is presented in the terminal aspect. Okay, we will look into the first part, that is the preliminary part begins with the title page, as I mentioned. It is the first page of the research report, title page. It gives various information regarding title of the study, prepared for what purpose, prepared by whom, name of the supervising teacher, presented to which institution or which organization, the time of submission and all. So, here there is a model in the PowerPoint. You can see that model. Earlier there was a trend in stating a study on, an evaluation of, an assessment of, etc. These words are appended with the title part. But it is not essential to state these words as part of your title, because your research itself is a detailed scientific study, or it is an analysis, or it is an in-depth evaluation of the variables involved in your study. So, there is no need of stating a study on, an evaluation, an assessment and all. You just simply state your title. You have to consider certain aspects while framing the title for your study. The first one is its style of presentation. How to present your title? You can either go for all caps. That means where all the letters of the title are printed in capital letters itself. Or you can proceed with a title case, where all words begins with capital letter except preposition, article and conjunction, like in, at, on, and, of, but. These are all not in capitals, but all other words are begin with a capital letter. One more style is there, that is semi-title case, in which capital letter is used only for the first letter and a proper noun and for a rider, that is after any colon or hyphen in your title, immediately after that colon or hyphen, you have to put capital letter for the next word. So, only the first letter and a proper noun, if any, in your title, and after colon or title, the beginning word should be in capital. That is the semi-title case. But simply we are using either the all caps case. That is good because there will be no mistakes at all. So, a good title should be set with the fewest possible words that should be adequately describe the content of the research, your report. So, the title should be very brief, but that should be self-explanatory about the purpose and objectives of the study. Then regarding the remaining parts of the preliminary section of the research report, as I mentioned, there should be a researcher's declaration. The researcher has to state that this is a bona fide work done by me under the supervision of so and so for this particular purpose, and this is not produced elsewhere for any other degree or diploma or anything like that. A researcher has to state a declaration. Then comes the research supervisor's certificate. The supervisor is also need to, because it is a combined work of the researcher as well as the research supervisor. So, the supervisor also has to certify that this is a bona fide work done by so and so under my supervision and guidance, and he is permitted to submit the report. In that way he need to certify. And the next part is acknowledgements. In this section, the researcher acknowledges the assistance and support received from individuals and organizations in conducting the research. In case of research undertaken by a non-student researcher, acknowledgements may be made in the preface section itself, where a brief background of the study is given. Then comes the table of contents. A table of content gives an outline of the contents of the report. It contains a list of chapters and their subtitles with the page numbers. It facilitates a ready location of the topics of your report. Then comes the list of tables. This comes after the table of contents. It contains the table number, the title of the table and page numbers. Then a list of graphs and charts will be there. If there are many graphs or charts and figures and all, we have to list all these in the list of, like that of we made in the list of tables, we have to list out the graphs and charts. Then there should be an executive summary. It is a concise statement of the entire process of research, including the findings of the project. This should be as brief as possible and run about 1 or 2 pages. It enables the reader to make a quick overview of the entire report. That's about the preliminary parts. Then we are proceeding to the core part, that is the body of the report. After the preliminary items, the body of the report is presented. As I mentioned, this we can present in a number of chapters. It's a major and main part of the report. It covers the formulation of the problem studied, the methodology used, the findings, the discussion, the summary of findings, recommendations and all. So, before proceeding into various contents of the body part, one thing you need to remember is that you should ensure a smooth flow of ideas from the beginning of the report till the end of the report. then only the reader will be attracted to read and he will get an idea and enable a smooth reading of the entire report. There should be a proper forward and backward integration of ideas in the report that you should take care of while preparing the body part. And the body part usually consists of several chapters, and the very first chapter will automatically be the introduction chapter, the first chapter. This is the first chapter in the body. It is devoted for introducing the theoretical background of the problem, its definitions and formulations and all. The purpose of introduction should be to supply sufficient background information to allow the reader to understand and evaluate the results of the present study without needing to refer previous publications on the topic. So this chapter, the introduction chapter, normally consists of a theoretical background of the topic and the statement of the problem. So while stating the problem, you should be very careful, because plenty of problems we are witnessing day by day. Most of the researchers fail to state their problem exactly. So in the section of statement of the problem, you have to state why and how a problem was selected. That you have to state, and the problem should be clearly defined with supporting facts. That is very essential. In this part, you can add your research questions that will leads to the development of the research objectives. Then comes the review of literature. As I told you earlier, this you can present as a separate chapter also, because we all know that the reporting, not only in the reporting part, in the entire research activity, the review of literature is the very important process, very important step in the research activity. This is an important part of the body of report also, because it devoted for making a brief review of previous studies on the problem and significant writings on the topics under study. This review provides a summary of the current state of knowledge in the area of investigation. So this leads to the exact knowledge gap which exists there, and this leads to your problem statement, and this leads to your research questions, and this leads to the objectives of the study and all. So you have to be very careful in preparing the review chapter. Earlier there was a style of presenting the review chronologically, but it is essential to arrange the review and present the same in a thematic way. There is no need of presenting the year-wise order and all. You have to prepare your review in a thematic way which supports your study. Then comes the scope of the present study. The objectives, you have to state the objectives. Objectives are the investigative questions relating to each. Based on your research questions, you have to state each and every objectives, and based on your objectives, you have to state your hypothesis also. And that hypothesis, as we all know, it is derived from the scientific review and non-facts also. And we have to state definition of various concepts involved in the study, models if any, and the design part, the methodology part is also need to be presented. And that also is presented as a separate chapter in many studies. This part of the report is the presentation of all aspects of the method and their implementation, the overall typology, method of data collection, the sample design, the data collection instruments, method of data processing and analysis. Everything will be explained there. Your overall design part, your sampling plan, the data collection instruments used, the data analysis techniques used regarding your hypothesis testing. An overview of the entire report is presented there. After that, you have to state the limitations of the study. Mind it, you have to state the limitations of the study, not the limitations of the research. So while preparing the body of the report, you have to give proper in-text citations. That you have to be very careful. So for that, you have to refer the APS 7 manual. The APS 7 manual is available. It is advised that you have to go through the APS 7 guidelines. While giving the index citation, if there is only one author, the author's last name first, then put a comma and give the year. Second name and the year is enough. If there are two authors, second name of the two authors separated by the symbol of and, that is used, and if it is forming part of the entire body, there you have to write and itself. We will not use the and symbol and all. Everything is there in the APS 7th manual. You just go through that. Otherwise, we will take another 1 more hour to discuss the entire things. Then the last part is results, findings and discussions. There we have to consolidate the entire findings of the study. There is a trend that the students are again presenting the entire statistical aspects here. That is not needed, my dear friends. Actually, you have to give your findings in the order of your objectives. Based on each findings, you have to present your based on each objectives, you have to present your findings. Then comes the terminal items, in which you have to give an appendix and bibliography. You have to ensure that no reference is missed in the bibliography. That you have to check properly, thoroughly, while preparing the research report. We will have to discuss in detail the common mistakes to be committed by research scholars at the time of report drafting stage. That we will do in another session. All of you have to go through the APS 7th manual before entering into the task of reporting. Hope you get some introductory idea about report preparation, the key process in research. Thank you for watching. Contact me for any doubts through email. Thank you very much.